Hey everybody, I'm Kate Conroy,
And I'm Vinny Savatello.
and this is Other People's Business, which is the podcast from the New Jersey Business and Industry Association, the largest statewide business association in the United States of America. We release a new episode every other Wednesday, so be on the lookout for that. Shout out to New Jersey Manufacturers Insurance Group. They do home, auto, and workers' comp, so check them out if you need some updated coverage. They're the official sponsor of the show.
Awesome. Just a housekeeping matter or two before we get this train rolling. This podcast is available just about anywhere you can get a podcast. That's iTunes, Google Play, Amazon's TuneIn. We even throw these things up on YouTube if you'd rather watch than listen. But no matter how you check the show out, give it some love. Give it that like, give it that comment, give it that 5-star review on iTunes. It helps all of the various algorithms that are out there controlling our lives figure out how to get this show in front of more eyes. And there's nothing wrong with that. We love it. So with all of that out of the way, our awesome guest today, returning for her second visit on the show, is Rachel Durkan from Paradigm Marketing and Design. Rachel, say hi, let the audience hear your voice.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Thank you for being back.
It's our pleasure. Okay, so today's icebreaker is, what are you currently binging? And for the longest time, you had my favorite answer ever. You said eggs.
I know she brought that up on like straight up. Like I had to put a stop to it. I was like, I don't want to hear about Rachel Durkan eating eggs anymore. Like it was like 12, 13 episodes in a row. Kate was like, Rachel once said eggs.
Oh, the food? Did I say that? Is that a TV show?
It's funny that she forgot, but I know it's forever in my head. Rachel Durkan binged eggs during the pandemic.
I do like eggs. They're delicious. And they're you can do so many things with them.
I know, it's true, right?
The incredible
I'm
edible
eating now sweet potatoes. Like I cut them up and then I put them in the air fryer and I have sweet potato fries. Like I'm binging that if we're talking about food.
That's awesome. Amazing. I mean, when we talk about binging something, we're not usually talking about food, but I totally accept that as an answer.
So I like to go in shows. I like to go in between like heavy stuff and light stuff. So I just got through Big Bang Theory. I rewatched that whole thing. Now I'm ready.
Amazing.
Intense, like Homeland or something like that.
I went through so many like dips and valleys with the Big Bang Theory. Like I liked it, I hated it, I liked it again, I hated it again. I don't know. It was one of those shows. I felt like for a long time, the girls on that show were really mean to the boys on that show. And it was like the whole point of the show is that we've got like these geeks on the show, but we're like trashing them for being geeks. And then they would come through another like valley where they'd be like, oh, no, you guys are awesome. We love you. And, you know, it would just keep going.
Well, I think it's as somebody who just binge watched 12 seasons.
Sure.
I think earlier when they're mean to them, the boys' social cues are not up to par.
Okay.
So like Howard is kind of a perv. So some of the things he says he deserves to be.
I mean, I thought he was a perv like all the way to the end of the show, but sure.
Because his wife puts him in his place. So I think the argument can be made both directions.
Yeah. I want to say the show that like lives rent free in my head forever, the one that I love, is when they go to Comic-Con and Penny is supposed to be signing autographs, but like nobody's really interested in her. Everybody's interested in Leonard, who's the one like taking all the money because like he's like, oh no, she's my wife, and they're all like, hold on, time out. Let me find out like how I can get away. So they're like, he's giving all these stories, and more people, like every time they cut back to their story arc throughout the show, like more people have amassed in front of them.
That was a pretty good one. I enjoyed that. I like when it gets to the end. The character development's interesting, like the way Sheldon develops over time. So all of them develop well.
Yeah.
Nice.
But it'll never match The Office. I just always try to find something like The Office, and I can't watch that over and over again because I'll start memorizing it, but it's good, but not Office good.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a really good distinction. Then what are you watching?
I just finished, I guess by the time you see this show, the last episode of Barry will be out. So I haven't seen it yet, but we watched Barry years ago. Like we watched the first season and we started the second season. And then for whatever reason, we stopped. And I got it in my head like a week or two ago. Like I really want to, check this show out, see what, where it went from when I stopped. And it was such a bad idea because I loved it so much. And then I got caught at like 3-4 episodes from the end of the series. And so now like every week I got to like wait for that like new episode. And I think the last one is this upcoming Sunday, just based on the number of episodes all the other seasons have had, but we don't know. I haven't Googled it.
And then you have the writer's strike, so now you might.
So I'm worried about that because that could really like throw a racket or whatever you want to call it, a wrench in the whole toolbox there. But
I think there's some shows that are meant to be watched in a binge way, and there's some shows that are meant to be spaced out. So I got on like the Breaking Bad bandwagon at the very, like when the show ended, and I was like, I gotta watch this because everyone's talking about it. And I watched it like in a binge watch capacity, and it didn't feel like it was as good as people who had to wait. Like I started getting sick of the characters. So I think it depends.
I think that that's true. I watched it both ways. I watched it live when it was out, and then maybe a year ago, maybe less, maybe 6 months ago, I binge watched it again from start to end. And I was getting really mad at the characters too.
Yeah. Maybe because you're around them too much. You need some space.
Yeah, Breaking Bad's also pretty long. It was like 6 years, a lot of episodes. They're like hour-long episodes. Like when I did Barry, there's only 4 seasons, 8 episodes per season, and they're half-hour shows. So it's like it's done in nothing, you know? Like,
yeah.
You can do that really fast. Yeah. And Breaking Bad, that last season they split into 2 full seasons. So it was like part A and part B. Each were like 6 or 7 episodes long. It was just a lot. I don't know. It was a lot.
Anyway. Hey, what are you watching?
I'm watching on Hulu a show called A Small Light, which is the story of Anne Frank and her family living in hiding, but told from the perspective of the woman who's hiding them.
Yeah. And so I heard about this. My wife was watching the show, and I asked her what it was, and she told me it's the story of Anne Frank from the other side. And I was like, the Nazi side? Are we getting like their perspective on why they... She's like, no. So
that's amazing.
Go on, sorry.
So the woman who hid them for years she was like in her 20s. Her name is Meep, and she's just a kid, partying, hanging out with her girlfriends, having living her life. And then the war happened, and she happened to work for Otto Frank at his company, and they plotted and figured out a way to hide the whole family. And then more people kept popping up who needed help. And so by the end, I kind of forgot. I mean, I read Anne Frank's diary, God, a million years ago.
Yeah, like
I forgot that the annex, the annex was full of like 8 or 10 people, like 5 adults, 3 kids, like a cat. There was a lot of people living in this really small space, just trying to like make it out alive. And of course, spoiler alert, we kind of know that not everybody did, which is really awful. But
I didn't know they had a cat.
Yeah.
You can't hide a cat.
Like, well, I don't get the cat in the house. I feel like we don't need the cat in the...
It became a really big point of contention because Anne was not allowed to bring her cat. But then this other family showed up, husband, wife, and a son. And the son just brought him, didn't ask permission, just showed up with the cat. And Anne was like, this is crap.
I mean, count on a cat to turn you in. Like, like... You always see that, like, in the, like, I'm thinking of Inglourious Bastards when they're, like, walking and, like, the people are looking up from underneath. And, like, the first thing a cat would do would be like, meow.
Yeah, so anyway, it's fun to see Anne Frank and her sister as teenagers with, like, squabbles and fighting with their mom and, like, pouting over a cat. And just, it really made them come alive, I guess. It's a great show.
Okay. Yeah. There really is no clean transition from...
so
Frank
where do we go from there?
I was gonna say there's no clean transition from Paradigm and Frank and back into. So I'm just gonna say, tell me about Paradigm morphing into.
So... Can we talk about Mother Teresa, maybe?
Yeah, exactly.
Positive.
Maybe we should have ended on the Big Bang Theory. We could have worked like talking about like actually, computer whizzes and everything.
So actually, if you're looking for another lighthearted show, Superstore is great. Have you binged Superstore yet?
No.
It's great. It's light. It's like The Office, but really smart. And I think it's better than Big Bang Theory. So check it out if you're looking for another like light, fun half-hour show.
Okay.
All right, you sort of saved it, but not enough. Okay. We'll still move on.
But tell me about Paradigm.
Sure. So, sorry, I hear a suspicious activity outside.
Is it a cat?
I don't think it's a cat. We'll see.
Right.
I don't have one, so if it was, that would be
that would be a real great twist.
My cleaning people were here today, and they come out because I was outside, so I got out of their way. And he's like, "We found a frog under. It was a dead, like mummified toad under your couch." He's like, "What do you want me to do with it?" I'm like, "Take it out.
Throw it away. Yeah, get rid of it."
Well, have you ever heard of a toad in your house? Like, I get I mean, mice make sense, or like a bug.
No, so this is going back like 10 years ago now. One night I was out like taking out the trash, and I had the garage door open, and I come back and there's just like a frog standing like dead center in my garage. So I was like, all right, I don't want to kill this thing, but I want to kind of like shoo it out in such a way. Yeah. So I'm trying to do that. And as I'm trying to do that, he doesn't jump like out of the garage. He jumps like into all the crap we keep in the garage. And so I tried, I'm like, trying to get in there. I never got him. And so like in the back of my head to like this day, I'm always convinced that frog is still in the garage somewhere. He can't be because I haven't seen him.
Couch in your living room.
It's possible. It's possible. But yeah, I don't know. Like one day I'm just gonna find that frog and be like, "How you doing?"
Yeah. Anyway, I have no idea how I got to that, but you asked me about Paradigm. So Paradigm is unrelated to frogs completely. We are a web marketing, branding, and workflow agency. So that's different from the last time we chatted. We didn't have a workflow division in our company the way we do now.
Let me hard stop you right there. What's a workflow division? Like, what do you guys?
So workflow, we do business process documentation and also CRM implementation and optimization. So CRMs are Zoho, Salesforce, things that you use to track your leads in your organization. Yeah. So Paradigm specializes in helping companies that have a complex sale. So what I mean by a complex sale is it's probably going to require a human interaction to close the deal. Like you're not buying a widget, you're going to have a conversation. So we help companies, membership organizations, and nonprofit organizations build marketing to sales infrastructures that increase the number of meetings their sales or development team is having and shortening their sales cycle. So for years we did that, and we were very data focused. So Paradigm, we would combine creativity, innovation, and data to make smart decisions, right? So every month we look at the data, we see what's happened based on campaign execution, and then we adjust accordingly. And so one of the challenges we ran into is often our clients who are either nonprofits or in the small mid-sized business market didn't either have a CRM system that they weren't using often, or some people were even using like an Excel database, which hurts my heart, to manage their lead flow. And I mean, I've seen $70 million organizations that use Excel spreadsheets to manage their lead flow. And that is very hard to pull data from. So it was a really logical acquisition for our company to bring on a workflow division to implement CRMs and help manage and customize them to get the data we want to monitor that end to end from top of the funnel marketing all the way through the sales close to get the data we needed.
What made you guys want to get into that?
I think, like I said, I think it had to do with the fact that a lot of our clients were missing the data we needed to make really smart decisions. So we could only see a piece of the whole puzzle. I also think it was logical. So Lorena, who runs our division, had her
shout out to Lorena Mascara.
Shout out to Lorena. Did this, and we actually outsourced a lot of work or referred a lot of work to her, and she shares our values, she shares our culture, and so it made a lot of sense during COVID to bring her on, and in just under 2 years she's built a really awesome division for Paradigm.
Very cool.
That's awesome. So what else other than workflow? What do you do?
Yeah, I know. I interrupted the whole thing because I didn't know what that meant.
So we also, I mentioned we do marketing, web design, and branding. So web design and branding is a little bit, is pretty easy to explain. It's tangible. So if you need a new logo or brand strategy or something that's going to visually tell your organization's story, we've got really talented designers on our team and creative directors to make that happen. And then we have a full web development team. So we can build websites from, your small site that's going to support your sales strategy to we do ADA compliance for a lot of like larger e-commerce sites. You don't have to be e-commerce to meet ADA compliance, but they often do. So we kind of run our web development team is very talented, and we run the gamut in what we can do for our clients. But the bulk of I shouldn't say the bulk, a majority of our business comes from our outsourced marketing services. So we serve as our client's outsourced marketing department, either supplementing like a small marketing department. So they might have a CMO and a coordinator, or just a coordinator level person. And we come in and we work directly in relation to that marketing department, if it exists, definitely leadership and the sales team, to build out their marketing infrastructure and support them in the execution of their activities. But I think the key is, and I've been on a lot of webinars and panel discussions lately about this, is there's a proven, and I have stats, but not in front of me, so maybe I'll pull them up at the break so I have them ready, divide between marketing and sales. So marketing and sales in most organizations don't work together as effectively as they could. And it's a really big inhibitor. companies, if they can get those teams aligned, can make a significant more amount of money pretty immediately. So we work directly when we come in with the client, we work with the marketing team, certainly. But we need to hear a feedback loop and coordinate directly with the sales team to make sure that the information we're feeding them and the leads we're feeding them makes sense to the whole process.
That's fantastic. I mean, so obvious when you say it out loud, but you're right. A lot of sales and marketing teams just don't work together. And you guys have been so successful. Like, you've grown exponentially the last, what, 3 years? Like, I want to say since pre-pandemic to now, like, it's just, it's incredible. How many people are you at now?
30.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. And you are fully virtual. Like, you've always been fully virtual, and it's just, right?
Pre-pandemic, we had an office in New Jersey, but I didn't require everybody to go in all the time. We went in 1 to 2 days a week, and then we were virtual the rest of the time. After COVID hit, we grew so much during that year of COVID. I mean, I think we grew exponentially, and we hired all over the country because we could. So pre-COVID, I don't remember these numbers exactly, but I would say like 80 to 90% of our workforce, of only like 10 people at the time, were in New Jersey. So it made sense. Now with 30 people, I think we only have 9 in New Jersey. So the rest are all over the country. And so it just doesn't make sense to have a location. But it's an interesting debate that I continue to have with my husband, who works for a larger corporation, where they're making them go back to the office on how efficient people are, whether they're in the office or not. And I think it really just depends on your culture and how you manage your people.
I think that's absolutely right. And I think it depends on the initiative taken of the workforce. Like, you can tell pretty quickly who's producing and who's not producing. And then it comes down to managing the non-producers, right?
I think it's that. I think there's also a huge level of what I call professional maturity.
Yeah.
So, I have 2 kids. It's my company. I trust myself to come and go as I please and make decisions. I have an event tonight. I didn't start work today until 10, but I'm going to work until 9 o'clock tonight at an event. I think your senior people, listen, if you can't trust your senior people to make decisions on when and how they should be working, they shouldn't be your senior people.
That's
I
right.
think that the more, my husband, the debate we were having last night is he works for a company where they hire like right out of college and then they raise them up. And so there's a big proportional difference, as opposed to my company, of more junior people in the workforce that need to be trained by more senior people. We're pretty even. We have, because you need to have a lot of consultants when you're going out for marketing and advising clients. But I think it depends on how you manage, train, and develop those more junior people in a meaningful way, and how often you have FaceTime with them is going to impact how successful they are in a virtual environment.
Exactly.
And if somebody's really going to take advantage of a virtual environment, we are going to figure it out. Like, one way or the other, eventually through performance. And they probably shouldn't be in any company, I shouldn't say any company. They certainly have a right to have a job, but they probably won't thrive in an in-person company either.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. So let me segue for a second. We shouted out Lorena, but there's somebody else on your team who we're close to as well. Vicky Hart is amazing. I've known her for a bunch of years. And tell me what she does for you, because a lot of people might not know.
Sure. So Vicky's our director of client engagement. So she helps lead up our sales division to bring in new clients and new business. And she also, she likes to say, and I agree with her, that she's the face of our brand. She goes out, everybody likes Vicky. I always joke, but it's not a joke, that everybody likes her better than me, which is fine. That's her job. But she goes out, she raises awareness, she builds partnerships. One thing that, I'll get BIA is a great example. During COVID and then beyond, we've built a lot of partnerships with different organizations for partnership marketing. So with BIA, we do Table for Four, which is a virtual networking event we've done since COVID, and it's been successful. We do our monthly roundtable, which has been really successful. We've had awesome guests like Precious Williams and Dave Mattson from Sandler Training. We've had Dan Genghis, who's a best-selling author. We had Bob Berg recently. And then we had just a lot of really smart people come on and talk about really cool content that is relevant to business leaders. Yep. But Vicky, I was going to call her Vicky. Vicky is critical to that, because she goes out and she understands not only how to provide referrals and network and build relationships, but how we can create, 1 + 1 = 3 opportunities. So that is what she does for Paradigm.
That's a really excellent summarization. 1+1 = 3. That's Vicky.
Yep, exactly. Her personality alone is a 10.
That's awesome.
That's the truth. I totally agree with you.
But the team we have, I'm just really proud of. They're really awesome.
Yeah, and you're doing great work. You're working with us. Shout out to Paradigm Marketing and Design. They handle a big portion of our marketing at NJBIA.
Yeah.
And you guys are so wonderful to work with. I always love, it's so, besides the fact that you're wonderful clients, I always love when we have a new idea. I'm like, let me call Kate. She'll probably say yes to me. But
we're very relaxed,
I rarely have said no to you. I don't think I ever have, in fact.
But it pays off, right? We've got the data to prove it.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. We totally do. It's been fun. It's been such a great relationship. We always do great work together, and we always have a lot of fun together. And I think that makes a huge difference, because life is short, right?
Yeah.
Somebody said to me once, if your extracurriculars aren't fun, what's the point? And I sort of kind of feel like that at work too. Like,
I think feeling like that at work is a privilege, and hopefully everyone feels that way, but we don't always. I really hope your extracurriculars are fun. If they're not, maybe you need new ones.
I was going to say outside of work. Why even do it?
I agree, but like sometimes you get sucked into like going somewhere that exactly, responsibility or I don't know. I can't even think
of an extracurricular then. Like when you have to go to a wedding or something, like that's just a one-off obligation. An extracurricular to me is like, okay, we're going hiking every Thursday and I hate it,
Yeah. Okay. So I guess what I'm saying is like I'm an extrovert and I can fill my calendar with like everything all day long, live long day. And every once in a while I look at the calendar and I'm like, oh my God, a Saturday and a Sunday, activities on both days.
Yeah.
Oh no. Yeah, I need a minute. And so like that's when I have to like check in and be like, are you gonna have fun at those now? Or do you want to like only do half of one? Or I don't know, I feel like just life is too short. I don't ever want to be out somewhere exhausted.
Don't want to be there.
Yeah.
I think that, if that actually relates to business too. I was actually having this conversation with Vicky the other day. Vicky is like a super extrovert. I enjoy talking to people when I'm out, but I don't necessarily get energy from it. I'm kind of like, oh, I have an event tonight. When I get there, I'm going to have a great time, but I got to put on pants. You don't know if I have them on right now, but I do. But they're not the pants I'm going to wear tonight. Anyway, I think that in business, you can also run into that. So I find that, and this happened a lot after COVID, and this is where data comes in. If you get your sales team or your marketing strategy going out and doing what's easy and what's fun, and you're doing a lot of activity, is that always the right activity? So I think this whole concept of pausing and thinking like, should I be doing this? Does it make sense? Is it where I should be spending my time, both personally and professionally, is so important.
And I think that's where data comes in. So if you're going to an event, the ROI on that event is what business cards you got out of it, what the follow-ups are like, if they're easy, if they're difficult, if you close anything as a result of that event. Tracking the data is key, which brings me back to workflow, right?
Well, when I measure data from marketing standpoint, marketing to sales, I look at it in two ways. I look at what I call brand assets and direct return on investment. So direct return on investment, we all know and love. Yeah. How many leads did I get from that event that actually closed into a deal, right? You can track that with the CRM, but that's why CRMs come in handy, because your sales cycle might be 3 months and your Excel spreadsheet's not going to tell you that, right?
Right.
But I think the big thing that a lot of companies miss is the concept of brand assets. And I call it brand assets because the word brand building in the small business world and the organizational world has become a bad word, in my opinion. There's a lot of marketers that are like, I'm going to build your brand. We're not Coca-Cola. I'm not going to make the entire country know who you are at the drop of a hat. We're not going to run a Nielsen survey to see, what your perception is. Now we can do poll surveys online, but that's a different story. So this concept of brand building in the SMB world is what I call brand assets. That is your social following, your website hits, and most importantly, your CRM and or email list growth. And what I mean by that is, on average, it takes 9 to 13 touches to build trust in a brand. So if you're a salesperson, and let me see if I can do my math right here. Let's pretend you're allowed to have 100, you're capable of having 100 meetings a month. So if we need an average of 10 touches to build trust in the brand, then I have to meet 10 people 10 times in theory to get a shot at closing a deal, right? But if marketing can facilitate 8 of those touches, well, now I can meet 50 people 2 times with the opportunity to close a deal. My pool just got bigger, right?
Right.
So combining your marketing and sales efforts in that touch process makes a big deal. I'm sorry, makes a big impact on the company. And by building your brand assets, you're pushing people through that touch process. So what a lot of our clients, what I'm always telling them is half of our effort, listen, we should always be looking at direct ROI. We have to, right? We've got to continue to feed. But think of your brand assets as an annuity. If you start building that now, your life is going to get significantly easier later. And I don't want to ramble, but I have like a case study example of this.
Yeah.
Keep talking.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So we had a client that came to us during COVID. They did kind of, I don't want to say they're similar to Zoom because they get very mad at me, but they basically did virtual telecom, but it was very secure for like HIPAA compliance, et cetera. And they dealt directly with managed service providers to then use their solutions. They didn't go into the consumer. So for years, we had been working with them to build their brand assets. We were building their database, educating these MSPs, educating these partners, even if they called them partners, even if they weren't engaging with them at that point. And when COVID hit, the owner, it was like brilliant. I wish I thought of it. He came to me and he said, I want to offer our service for free for 3 months to whoever wants to use it. And which we all know, like you start using a technology, you stick with that technology, right? So we literally sent 3 emails out in a week and they got a ton of sign-ons. So they got new market share. That's because they had brand assets. If he didn't have brand assets or anyone in his database and they hadn't trusted him already, I would have been like, that's great. I need $10,000 to run an ad campaign and your ROI would have been like 2% because they didn't trust them, right? It was a brand new touch. So building those brand assets pays off. So when it's time to use it, you can leverage it. So when you're looking at data, bringing this all back, you want to be looking at brand assets, but you also want to be measuring direct ROI in conjunction with that.
That's brilliant. What a great idea.
It was
so. So, and I'm just thinking too about the sales cycle. I always say, like, it's a numbers game. You have to have the amount of touches that it takes to close the deals. And so you have to be doing it for a certain amount of time in order to know what your sales cycle is, in order to know how many touches it takes. And the brand assets help you with that. They help you. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a concept of what I call high intent leads and low intent leads, right? So a high intent lead, like we have a client who their sales team kind of fell into this cycle of always wanting more and more high intent leads. So high intent lead was like they came through Google PPC, like an ad. They Googled something, I need this service, came through the website, it was high intent. They called them up. The salespeople love those. It's like, oh, you're interested in marketing? What can I do for you? Here's my pricing. Like you've got someone on the hook immediately. The problem with those is their close rate is much lower. So you're kissing a lot more frogs. I remember that I didn't even mean to bring up frogs again, but now but you're kissing a lot more frogs. Right. If you've got someone coming in through a webinar or through a database, by the time it gets to the salesperson, when there is an intent to buy, so they started low intent, you're educating them through the buying funnel, and then there's an intent, the likelihood of a close is significantly higher. So the question is, how early are you prepared to engage in the process? And when we're thinking about the buying funnel, you've got to think about that 9 to 13 touches I just said. Think of the concept of how you buy something, right? So I'm thinking about I'm going to go on vacation this fall with my family. My husband is a Cowboys fan, like he loves them. Let's not start an argument right now, but I'm just going to say it, okay? So we are going to see a Cowboys game in Dallas. I would like to take the kids to like a ranch around the area. So I've been doing a ton of research. I've been looking at blogs. I've been asking ChatGPT, who's really not up to date on this type of stuff yet. I think he's a little behind. But
no, I think they fed that information from like 3 years ago or something.
Yeah. So it's like, this is out of date. But so I'm doing a lot of high level research. What are good activities for kids? What's even available? Oh, there's all inclusive. I didn't know that, right? So I am at the top of my buying funnel. But in a couple weeks or months, I'm going to be ready to hit book now. But I'm going to go through a series of questions in my head when I go to, Google or ChatGPT or talk to friends that are going to be different perceptions. So when you're doing my point is when you're doing your marketing message to sales, you need to be thinking about what the person is thinking at the different levels of the decision-making process to grab their attention. That blog by Travel Advisor is having a big impact on the top of my funnel and it's pushing me in the right direction. But there's a 1 in 10 chance that I'm going to pick one of those ranches that are in that blog, but then there's another series of touches that have to go through. Most of them have terrible websites. I'm not going to use them. The touch process broke. So having that touch process with the right message of the right buying funnel along the way is critical to getting your long-term sales strategies to be successful.
It's kind of funny. I had this whole conversation yesterday because I was at Buffalo Wild Wings with my daughter, and she's 5, and they had the little wet naps out, and the wet naps all had their logo on it. And she asks me, why do they have the buffalo on the wet nap? And I was like, without even thinking about who I was talking to, I was like, well, it's branding. And she's like, what's branding? And I'm like, all right. Let's get into this now. You know?
I feel like I need a drink if I'm doing that at dinner. I need to
exactly. With a 5-year-old, no less.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, they want to make sure that you get their logo in your head as much as possible, because then you'll like think about them when you're thinking about
Yeah, exactly. So if you can explain to a 5-year-old, you can do this job.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Okay, on that note, why don't we take a break, and when we come back, we're going to play a game.
Cool.
And we're back, and it is now time to play our lightning round game, which today is brought to us by Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey. Rachel, are you ready?
I guess. To be honest, I did not get prepped for this at all. So
I know they're not hard-hitting questions. Don't worry.
It's meant to be a surprise so that you give us your gut reaction.
All right.
Favorite pizza topping?
Cheese.
That's not a topping. That's part of the pizza. I mean, you know.
All right. I like chicken parm pizza, but I also like white pizza.
Okay. Sure.
Chicken parm pizza. That sounds good. Okay.
Chicken parm pizza is like a meal in a slice. Like,
now,
I don't know. It depends on where you get it, I guess. But yeah.
I just realized I used to eat peppers and onions pizza a lot, and now I've literally forgotten about it, Kate. This is like the egg days. And now I need to know what I'm having for dinner tonight.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Our last guest just said peppers and onions.
Oh, it's good.
We judged her hard for that.
Dressing.
So.
Wait, with what dressing?
Ranch dressing. It's like a salad, but without salad.
My daughter eats the pizza with the ranch dressing, and I always look at her like she's super gross.
Good.
I've never tried it, so I probably ought to try it at least once before I judge her again.
I just forgot that I used to eat that, and I'm sad now because I don't think I've had it in years. But
that's a bummer.
The pandemic is such a hard slice in people's life. There's so many things that I haven't done since before then because the interruption of the flow got locked in. Sorry, Kate. Next one.
All right, sorry. Yeah, I was just thinking about pizza. Greatest TV show ever made?
The Office.
Oh, that's a great answer. Farthest from New Jersey you've ever been?
Africa.
Ooh,
Tanzania.
What'd you get to do in Africa?
Wow, what did you do there?
I volunteered in Tanzania for a little bit after college.
That's amazing.
What kind of stuff did you do?
Yeah.
So I was with an organization. We went to a very remote village that had a school. So I helped, they had like computers from like 1996, like the old Windows dial up. So I taught the teachers how to use Excel and some of the computers for grading. I helped weigh babies for the World Health Organization, and I did it wrong.
How do you weigh babies wrong?
So I didn't drop a baby or anything. They're all fine. But they all did like the European style day, month, year. And I messed up words, so I had to because I'm American. Yeah. And
wait a minute, this is weird. This baby was born in the 27th month.
They were actually really mad about that. I had to spend a lot of time fixing it, but it was a wonderful experience.
That's awesome. Okay. Morning person or night owl? Since
my kids, I'm a morning person.
Yeah.
I think the children do that too.
Yeah. That's been something I've been noticing. Like I'm definitely a night owl completely.
Really?
But I'm coming to the realization that if I don't get on board with the morning thing,
I actually can't function anymore at night. Like I fall asleep at like 9:45.
Yeah. Yep. I've been trying. Like my body will let me sleep for like 6 hours. So lately I've been getting up at like 4:00 in the morning because I'm trying to get to bed earlier and earlier, but that also means waking up earlier and earlier. And I'm just hoping eventually I'll get that 8 hours in there somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know about 4.
Oh my God, that's crazy. 4 a.m. is bananas. Okay, bananas.
No, I agree. It's not cool, but no.
All right, last question. How many cats is too many cats?
I'm a dog person. I'm not a cat person. So I could start a lot of fights and piss off a lot of people and say one, but I won't.
You would not be the first to say that.
I think three.
I'm going to say
would be-
99% of people who answer this question answer it with any cats is too many cats.
Oh, all right. Okay. So I wouldn't have any cats in my house, but I think if you have more than two, you probably become a cat you enter a new category.
Yes.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Like it gets judgy.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's a really data-minded answer. And I
very official.
I appreciate that. All right. Well, that was the lightning round brought to us today by Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey. Thank you. Thank you. Shout out to them.
Sure. Rachel, one of the things that I was thinking about before the break that I wanted to ask, regardless of whether a company has their own marketing department or not, how do you know it's time to bring in some outside help?
That's a great question. So a lot of our clients will hire us either because they have no marketing department or they have somebody who was like given the marketing job and they did not want it. Like you're now, or I see a lot of director of sales and marketing and they want to be in sales. Or they have a marketing department that already exists. So the ones that don't have marketing at all, I would say that if you have somebody who doesn't know, like a great business coach once said to me that a business needs it's like a Venn diagram, what you're good at, what you like doing, and what the company needs, and it should fit in the middle. So if the person who's doing your marketing really should be in sales, then let them spend the time doing what they're good at and bring in marketing, somebody who can support marketing in a meaningful way with a direct return on investment. If you have a marketing department in-house, I have a great example of a prospect I'm talking to right now. This poor woman has, is a team of 3 and they've got 5 divisions. It's nearly impossible for a team of 3 to manage 5 divisions in a meaningful way with different target audiences. So if your team is overworked, they can't get to everything they want to be getting to. I mean, marketing is an investment like sales. If you add more to it, it should have a better output. So bringing an agency like ours on is great because you don't have to have the headcount. You don't have to pay the expenses of an employee. And when you hire an agency, you get 30 different people with 30 different pieces of expertise, web development, design, social media expertise, media buying, and not when you hire one person, maybe you don't need one full-time employee to do social media. Maybe you only need 10 hours, a month of that, but having an agency, they can supplement, they can be multiple people in one. So I would say when you're not getting the meaningful return that you want, or you're not measuring your return, it's probably time to talk to somebody.
How do you balance things across all of your different clients? Like, I know you said you had 30 people. When you said you had all those people before, I kind of thought like one person goes out to X company, another person. I'm sure you have more than 30 clients, but like, how do you balance all of that?
So our marketing department, we'll just talk about the marketing team for a second. We've got 3 teams, and each team has a director on it, a coordinator, and an assistant. So those are the point people every day that have conversations with the marketing team. So it's their job to make sure that the strategy is on point, that things are moving the way they said, that the client is informed, that we're spending our time in the right place. Behind them, so they're strategists, they're project managers, they're essentially like the main point. But behind them are strategists, web developers, workflow specialists, copywriters, PPC experts, SEO experts. So they've got a whole team behind them where they can go out to them and say, hey, I need you to do this, or I need you to do this. And then they bring in that expertise back to the client with the finished product. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, is there anything coming up you want to promote?
Yeah. So with NJBIA, we do a monthly roundtable. I mentioned this earlier. We have a lot of amazing speakers and a lot of good content for business leaders to keep themselves growing and innovating. So it's the second Tuesday of every month at noon. This coming month in June, on June 13th, actually my team's going to be speaking. I'm looking at my camera because my other computer to make sure I have this right. But we're going to be talking about AI, powering your business with AI. We have specific tools, strategies, and insights that you should be using to leverage AI in a meaningful way for your company. And so they have very specific tools. Lorena and Caitlin is our director of our marketing department, the whole marketing department, and our senior strategist. And Lorena is our expert in all things technology, who we mentioned earlier. So they've got some really cool things that they're going to be talking about. The other thing that's coming up is we have a panel discussion on June 20th that we're doing with NJ Biz that is also going to be talking about AI and how you can leverage AI in your marketing and sales process. We're doing that with Cal Thomas from Sandler Training and Meg from Focus USA.
Very cool.
Love Cal Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So if somebody wants to get a hold of you, maybe take advantage of your service, how can they do that?
They can find our information on our website. So I'm going to give you the short domain version because it's very long. So it's paradigm-md.com. So it's paradigm-md.com.
Cool.
Perfect. All right. I think that's the show. Thank you, listeners, especially our subscribers. We appreciate the support. Thank you to New Jersey Manufacturers Insurance Group, the official sponsor of the show. They do home, auto, and workers' comp, so check them out if you need some updated coverage. And finally, thank you, Rachel Durkan of Paradigm Marketing and Design. It was such a pleasure having you with us today.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.